Okay, guys, if we don't pass this omnibus bill on December 20th, today, if they shut the government down because we didn't give them their $1 trillion spending allowance, we're threatened with this.
If there is a shutdown, and I don't want to get too much into hypotheticals, but this is the reality, transition activities will be restricted.
Not if the government shuts down. This is a threat to democracy. Arrest this woman. And Joe Biden too.
And with limited exceptions, obviously, but such as prevent imminent threats to the safety of human life or the protection of property. Those are the things that we would that we would have to be concerned about. And so we're doing everything to ensure a smooth transition, but the choice to allow a transition to move forward is in the hands of Republicans in Congress.
This is a prime example what this entire video is going to be about. Propaganda from mainstream news outlets to scare you into doing what they want. Everybody, and welcome back to Starkey Formstead. My name is Samantha, and I'm going to walk you through some of the things that are going on right now. So we're all hearing about how our government has become weaponized, especially against Elon Musk and all of his different companies. Something I found very, very interesting was that Tesla has had 15 recalls in 2024. Yet, if you Google Tesla, it pops up. It makes it look like they've had the most recalls out of any car manufacturer in 2024 in the United States. And that is false. The truth is, if you look at Ford, plagued by recalls 2024, yet it's kind of hidden in all the propaganda that we're getting from legacy news media. Speaking of legacy news media, watch this.
Biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms.
Know that Reuters was paid millions of dollars to look into Elon Musk, and then they win a Pulitzer Prize for doing so. But the really curious thing, and I found this out today, that Reuters, along with the CIA and the Rockefeller family, were all part of Project Mockingbird. Now, how does that relate to what we're dealing with today? Well, I found the best explanation, and I wanted to share that from Kennedy himself.
There's a provision in the CIA charter that says that the CIA cannot propagandize the American people. President Obama adopted in 2016 that essentially reopened the door for Operation Mockingbird so that the CIA began once again to propagandize American people.
How are they doing that, President?
High-level intelligence officials or people associated with the intelligence industry are running those journals, like Noah Schlachman, who runs Rolling Stone, who came from Daily Beast. Daily Beast was run by John Avalon, who has deep ties to the intelligence agencies. And even journals like Smithsonian and National Geographic, Nature, the Washington Post, the New York Times appear to be compromised by the CIA. We know from the Twitter files that both the FBI and CIA were operating portals within the Twitter and Facebook that allowed them to manipulate information and to deplatform people and to silence certain people that they didn't like in the social media. Operation Mockingbird was an operation to compromise American journalists. There were some 400 editors, journalists from all the largest publications. The New York Times had been compromised. The Washington Post was basically...
What do you mean by compromised for people who...
Well, they were functioning, the high-level people at those those journals were working for the agency or had, signed secrecy agreements with the CIA. And at CBS, ABC, NBC, after '75, when it all came out, during the Church Committee hearings, the CIA promised that it would no longer compromise American journalists. It continued the program to compromise journalists all over the world, and today the CIA is the biggest funder of journalism in the world.
And how about present day?
They fund it through USAID. In that little twilight zone before you fall asleep every night, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in the first weeks when I get into office about fixing these agencies, one at a time. That's something I'm excited about.
What does this mean for you and I? Well, it basically means that everything that we're getting through newspapers, that we're getting through the television, is all being controlled by one family and our government. And that should concern all of us, folks, because how can we get accurate information if it's all being misinformation directly from the government to us? And Elon Musk explains it best.
I wonder what he means by a lot of ways. Now, somehow, Reuters ends up writing a very harsh article about Musk and his business practices, and even ends up winning a Pulitzer for it. And this all happens when Elon is busy campaigning for Donald Trump. I bet it was just a coincidence. But I don't think Musk thinks the same, because he immediately responded to Mike's tweet with this: corrupt legacy media paid for by deep state Democrats. And he didn't stop here either. In another response, he went on to say, deep state traitors are coming after me, using their paid shills in legacy media. I prefer not to start fights, but I do end them. Now, Elon Musk has always been against the monopoly of legacy media. It's the main reason why he bought Twitter in the first place. And there are many videos of him talking about this topic.
The biggest point of manipulation that occurs in the media is not when the media says something that's false or misleading, but because they do that, but their choice of narrative. What are they going to talk about? By choosing to focus on one thing and not focus on another thing, that they're sort of steering what information the public receives. Whereas I think the right thing is that the narratives that are important should be the narratives that the people as a whole think are important, not what a few media oligarchs think is important.
It really reminds me of the ticker on your television showing you how many people had passed away from COVID. To what? To create a sense of fear in you. And today I did a live showing everyone how by MK Ultra, funded by the Rockefeller family, initiated from the CIA, they were able to prove that fear of what's coming in the future could control people in their present day. And that's a very powerful tool. And the fact that our government back in the early 1900s was doing all of these ridiculous, horrific, drug-induced terror campaign against children and people with mental problems, just to prove that fear would be a great weapon to use against the American people, should give you just a grain of salt and take a second before you believe anything that you hear from mainstream media anymore. I look at all of this and then I remember things like this.
Some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias, and agenda to control it. This is extremely dangerous.
Participated in our Christmas Child project this year. We adopted a family. There was a little girl who got nothing for Christmas, even though other children in her family did, and her grandmother was very upset. Her grandmother is on her way to pick up $200 from you amazing people. And as we collect money between now and the 24th, what we're going to do is continue to pass it out to people in this community who have nothing to give their kids and their grandkids. And we're just going to help people pay for gas or whatever else comes in, however much we can do. It's amazing. And just thank you for making a difference in one child's Christmas this year. that should make you go to sleep feeling a little bit better about the world tonight. Today, when I was talking about MK Ultra, when I realized that the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefeller family, the CIA, this is all connected in this manipulation of mainstream media, I said this. The truth and the history, and your history, guys. This is why you've got to know history. So now you want to know what we're going to jump to now? Operation Mockingbird. Okay? The Rockefellers' control over the CIA tightens. Their stranglehold over the media during the post-war era in 1950 through Allen Dulles, our favorite CIA director, right? We talk about him all the time. And Rockefeller lackey initiated Operation Mockingbird. This undertaking consisted of the recruitment of leading journalists and editors to fabricate stories and to create smokescreens in order to cast the agency's agenda in a positive light. Among the news executives who took part in this undertaking were William Paley of the Columbia Broadcasting System, Arthur Hayes Sulzberger of the New York Times, and then Barry Bingham of the Louisville Courier. Entire news organizations eventually became part of Mockingbird, including the American Broadcasting Company. MJ Truth Teller said this: 90% of what you read, you see, and you hear controlled by 6 corporations. All of them have foundations. All of them come from the ruling elites. So be careful, folks, because he who controls the information controls the mind, just like he who controls the food controls the people. And let's let the end of 2024 be the beginning for 2025 as we all move into finding out what has been hidden, what has been manipulated, and what we have been lied about together to make the whole world a better place. Because as you deep dive into Rockefeller, the CIA, MK Ultra, it is mind-blowing. What kind of shocked me was wokeism, right? Feminism was actually funded by the Rockefeller Foundation for 2 main reasons. One, because used to be women stayed home. So when you did your end of the year taxes, only one person was taxed. You had head of household, and people got reductions for their wives because they stayed home. But by convincing women that they needed to be outside of their homes to work, you ended up with 50% more people being taxed. What a great idea, right? But it was also the destruction of the family unit. Then you find that almost every major medical school in the United States is funded by Rockefeller. I'm gonna get it out, you guys. So after doing all this today, I can tell you one thing. Thank God for Jesus. That's all I can say. Thank you, God, for Jesus. And the fact that we live in a country where we can bring this stuff forward. But what really bothered me was hearing that so many people were targeted on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Their accounts are taken down. Their livelihoods are destroyed simply because they bring information that an oligarch or corporation or billionaire doesn't like. And that is not true freedom. So have an amazing night. Talk to you guys later. God bless you all. Please remember, like, comment, and subscribe.